Hello friends, I am Nisha Sharma, Associate Professor, Department of English. The topic under discussion today is a critical summary and analysis of Andrew Marvell's poem To His Coy Mistress. To His Coy Mistress is a cavalier poem written by the English author and politician Andrew Marvell. It was published posthumously in 1681. This poem is considered one of Marvell's finest and is possibly the best recognized carpe diem poem in English. Although the date of its composition is not known, it may have been written in the early 1650s. At that time, Marvell was serving as a tutor to the daughter of the retired commander of the New Model Army, Sir Thomas Fairfax. Now, the setting of the poem. The setting of To His Coy Mistress is, broadly speaking, the earth. Indeed, in the first stanza, the speaker imagines himself and his mistress wandering across the whole earth, from East Yorkshire, where the poet was born in England, to the Ganges River in India. Despite these geographical references, the poem doesn't say much about the cultural or political context in which it was written. Now, an analytic summary. The poem is spoken by a male lover to his female beloved as an attempt to convince her to sleep with him. The speaker argues that the lady's shyness and hesitancy would be acceptable if the two had world enough and time. But because they are finite human beings, he thinks they should take advantage of their sensual embodiment while it lasts. He tells the lady that her beauty, as well as her long preserved virginity, will only become food for worms unless she gives herself to him while she lives. Rather than preserve any lofty ideals of chastity and virtue, the speaker affirms the lover ought to roll all our strength and all our sweetness up into one ball. He is alluding to their physical bodies coming together in the act of lovemaking. Marvell wrote this poem in the classical tradition of a Latin love elegy, in which the speaker praises his mistress or lover through the motif of carpe diem or seize the day. The poem also reflects the tradition of the erotic blazon, in which a poet constructs elaborate images of his lover's beauty by carving her body into parts. Its verse form consists of rhymed couplets in iambic tetrameter proceeding as A, B, B, C, C, and so forth. The speaker begins by constructing a thorough and elaborate conceit of the many things he would do to honor the lady properly, if the two lovers indeed had enough time. He posits impossible stretches of time during which the two might play games of courtship. He claims he could love her from 10 years before the biblical flood narrated in the book of Genesis, while the lady could refuse his advances up until the conversion of the Jews, which refers to the day of Christian judgment prophesied for the end of times in the New Testament's book of Revelations. The poem's mood shifts in line 21 when the speaker asserts that time's winged chariot is always near. The speaker's rhetoric changes from an acknowledgement of the lady's limitless virtue to insisting on the radical limitations of their time as embodied beings. Once dead, he assures the lady her virtues and her beauty will lie in the grave along with her body as it turns to dust. Likewise, the speaker imagines his lust being reduced to ashes, while the chance for the two lovers to join sexually will be lost forever. The third and final section of the poem shifts into an all out play and display of poetic prowess in which the speaker attempts to win over the lady. He compares the lady's skin to a vibrant layer of morning dew. Time devours all things, the speaker acknowledges, but the nonetheless asserts that the two of them can, in fact, turn the tables on time. They can become amorous birds of prey that actively consumes the time they have through passionate lovemaking. Now, the themes in the To His Coy Mistress. The first theme is the rush of time. The main theme of To His Coy Mistress is the transience of life expressed through a sense of time, pursuing us and propelling us into the grave before we have achieved fulfillment. Marvell's tempo and language become more and more urgent as the poem proceeds. The poet is prepared to fight rather more vigorously than his Elizabethan predecessors, however. Something can be won back from time, but it has to be seized by sheer willpower. Donne's favorite theme of the completeness of the lover's word is here modified. The lovers cannot make a word of time and space for themselves in the traditional sense of lovemaking. Only in the intensity of their passion can they force time and space to obey them, and then for how long? Like all Carpe Diem poems, Andrew Marvell's To His Coy Mistress explores the concept of time in a number of interesting ways, focusing most specifically on how little of it is available to the speaker and his mistress. Stanza 1 posits a situation in which the speaker and his mistress have word enough in time. Nearly every line of this stanza references either a specific number of years or an event so far removed from the present as to exist in the realm of mythology. This amazing leisure of having plenty of time represents an absence of or indifference to time, which the speaker presents as an ideal but impossible state. In the second stanza, time takes on a menacing character, and the speaker and his lover are its victims. He describes time as someone might depict an avenging angel or a vengeful Greek god, bearing down on his back in a winged chariot. Eternity is desolate and death is certain. The speaker's solution to the grim reality is to take an active hold of time rather than languish in his slow-checked power to seize the day as the Carpe Diem phrase goes. In the third stanza, the lovers are described as birds of prey. Now they, not time's chariot, are winged. Although they are unable to still time, they can make him run. Next is the constants of reality. At times, the theme of love's destructiveness is hinted at. The Petrarchan ideal of idealizing the mistress is not only mocked but seen as destructive, in that it achieves nothing given the constraints of reality. A timeless courtship ultimately becomes a deadly one. Motion and stillness. The poem contains numerous contrasting examples of fast and slow motion and of utter stillness, expanding its notions of time and vitality. In the first stanza, things move only slowly, when they move at all. The lovers sit and stroll by rivers. They gaze and find rubies. In the most extreme example, the speaker talks about the growth of his vegetable love. Like a plant, increasing love is too slow to be observed by the human eye. In the second stanza, time moves so fast it is flying in a supernatural chariot. However, with the exception of the worms, the grave the speaker describes in the rest of the stanza is still and silent. Not even the echoes of his song will disturb the grim and dismal stillness of the world. In the third stanza, physical motion pervades the analogies for the consummation of the affair. The lovers will be like devouring birds of prey. They will roll their positive qualities together. They will tear their pleasures through the iron gates of life. They will chase the sun and it will run from them. Stillness is presented as an obstacle, such as an iron gate, or as something impossible, such as holding the sun still, as is described in the first two stanzas. However, the emphasis on action provides an alternative to that stillness, which the speaker believes to be the most correct course. Life and death. The inevitability of death as a reason to live life to the fullest is at the heart of Carpe Diem poetry. The speaker of To His Coy Mistress dwells on death and decomposition throughout the poem. The grave is not merely an abstract concept, it is presented in terms of the mistress' physical body being eaten by worms and turning to dust. The speaker's fate is to turn into ashes, and his love song will echo emptily in mausoleum. Only stillness and desolation awaits them in the deserts of eternity. The possibility of heaven and the afterlife is never discussed, only the subject of the end of life and bodily decay. To transition from discussing the privacy of the grave to his conclusion, the speaker describes his and his mistress' vitality. Now, therefore, while the youthful hue sits on thy skin like morning dew, and while thy willing soul transpires at every pore with instant fires. In the third stanza, the lovers become active and are described in terms of their physical activities by seizing the day they are at their most alive.